Good afternoon. I'm Ed Poswoli from TrippScott, and welcome to our continuing series of webcasts. Today we're honored to be joined by Attorney General of the state of Florida, Bill McCollum. Welcome, General.
Glad to be with you. Thank you a lot, Ed.
Well, I appreciate your trip down to Fort Lauderdale, and I wanted to start by saying how has your term as Attorney General been, and what are some of the issues that you're faced with today?
Well, incredible things have been going on up there in the period of time I've had the privilege of serving. One, we've really tackled the issue of cyber predators, those guys that are going after kids on the internet. Secondly, we've had a major initiative to create a statewide gang strategy, which still gangs are a big problem in our state. We have been working hard. We have a task force that is in this region now that Sheriff Lamberti chairs for us. That's all the major counties in the southeast part of Florida are under his auspices. Committees, prevention, schools, and so forth are engaged in trying to go after the gang problem before it gets away from us. And in addition to prosecuting, we want to get them on the front and the back end when they get released from prison, make sure they go out and hopefully they've been trained to do something in prison, they get a job, and they don't go back to gang life. And then we've had this huge problem recently with mortgage fraud, all of the downtime of the recession, and credit card scams, things where people are having problems with their credit and paying payments. And that's still going on because there's still a lot of people hurting in our state. But the biggest thing right now, the two biggest things currently, are what we're doing with regard to this big oil disaster, this spill, this Deepwater Horizon type of problem we've got out here, and the lawsuit over the health care legislation that we are seeking to have declaring that particular bill, that law, unconstitutional. So those are the two that are dominating us currently.
Let's talk about the oil spill in the Gulf. Yeah. And I know that some of us in South Florida are not only concerned for our fellow Floridians in the northwest section of Florida, but also because of the way that the current works. It swings around the Keys and comes up, potentially up the coast of the east coast of Florida. What's the status of that now?
Well, that spill is an ongoing concern. We have to deal with it on a prevention standpoint right now, and as a cabinet member in Florida, I'm very concerned, as everybody else in Florida should be, about the possibility of damaging our environment with any of the oil residue that gets into the Keys, into the fisheries, into any of the habitat we have. And I'm concerned about what it's going to do to the economy. We've got some serious damages that are already in the panhandle right now because of the fact that people are canceling their reservations. They're not coming to the summer, which is their big tourist season. And so we have hotels, restaurants, businesses suffering, not to mention the fishermen. And as a state as a whole, whatever happens with this bill, there are going to be a lot of pieces to fall into place for claims. I'm sure there'll be significant litigation before it's over with. But this is going to be enormous if it impacts us getting in, say, the Gulf Stream into the Loop, or if it comes down the west coast of Florida by Apalachicola and really floats over here in the next few weeks. And it could. We just don't know yet.
And how do we prevent this from happening in the future?
Well, I think, first of all, you've got a problem with whenever you drill a well. I mean, this is way off the coast. This is not 3 to 10 miles. I'm very much opposed, and always have been, to the idea that some have suggested that we have drilling within Florida's waters, 3 to 10 miles off the west coast. That's not going to happen. It's certainly not going to happen on my watch whenever I have a say over it.
And there would be if an event like that occurred within 3 to 10 miles, it would be far greater damage.
It'd already be here. It would be far greater damage. That oil spill that I've been flown over this miles and miles wide would have long since been all over the west coast of Florida and probably into the Gulf Stream and all over here, too. Now, the key problem here is the Deepwater well, in part, I'm told. And the equipment, you just can't send divers down there to fix this. And they've got a mechanism failure. So there are going to be a lot of people studying this. There's no silver bullet. Again, I'm not the scientist, but I guarantee you one thing, Florida should never allow drilling immediately off its coast. That's way too close.
That's a good point to take away. Let's move on to the health care lawsuit. I know that your office has been deeply involved in filing a lawsuit against the federal government to prevent what was passed by Congress, the Obama health care plan.
Well, 12 attorney generals joined us in a lawsuit 7 minutes after the president signed that bill in the Northern District of Florida to have it declared unconstitutional. We've subsequently been joined by several others. We now have an amended complaint. There are 20 states that have joined, either the governor or the attorney general. We also have been joined by the National Federation of Independent Business, representing associations, many of which are sole proprietorships, and 2 representative individual plaintiffs.
And this is not an outlier lawsuit by your office or by the state of Florida. This has now become a really group effort by some 20 states plus some business organizations.
Well, that's right. It's a major effort because there are two problems with this law, as we see it. Two really big problems. There may be some problems we all see with the law overall, but the first one is the individual mandate. The idea that there's an opportunity to demand that people individually who are not doing anything but buying a product have to buy health insurance in this case, or pay a fine.
A breathing tax.
Yeah, a breathing tax, a tax on living. That's really wrong. There's no place in the Constitution, according to the scholars that we believe and we've looked at and we've had our team look at, no place in the Constitution giving Congress that power. The Commerce Clause is not inelastic. We've got court rulings on that case, and we believe that the court on that alone will declare that provision unconstitutional. But there's also the provision in this dealing with the problem that the states have with this usurpation of state assets, with commandeering. 27% of Florida's budget goes today to Medicaid. That's just our share, under a contract with the government where we administer Medicaid to Florida residents. They changed that contract, as a lawyer, you can understand this, Ed, unilaterally. They just went in and said, look, we're going to add millions of more people who are going to be covered by this, and you're going to pay. And you're going to have this, that, and the other, and you're going to pay. Well, we didn't agree to do that. That wasn't in the original agreement. And so consequently, this, in our judgment, the states involved, this is the largest commandeering of assets by the federal government ever. And under the 10th Amendment, that's a violation of state sovereignty.
So basically, there are two basic legal issues. The first is, as an example, a fellow sitting on the couch who never leaves home, conducts no business whatsoever, notwithstanding any interstate commerce.
Right.
Right? So the Commerce Clause in the U.S. Constitution would not apply to him.
We don't think so.
In fact, doesn't even conduct any business whatsoever.
That's right.
And so what we're now saying is a federal mandate to have someone like that taxed and participate in this plan would be against the U.S. Constitution. That's the first issue.
That's exactly right.
Okay. And then the second issue is the federal government essentially dictating by unilateral contract, or changing the unilaterally, the demands on the state budget.
That's exactly right. And taking away the powers of the state and commandeering our assets, which there's precedent on. As a lawyer, you know that, the average Joe on the street. It's really bad. It's as bad as anything I've ever seen. I've been around government a long time.
Well, good luck with that.
Thank you.
The second set of issues I want to talk about, there's a rumor going around that you're going to run for governor and are actually running for governor.
Well,
that's true, right?
That's true.
Okay.
That's one of the rumors that's true. Some are not, but that one is.
And General, why do you want to be governor of the state of Florida?
Well, I've been married now for 38 years, and Ingrid and I have 3 sons and 2 grandsons, and this is about them, Ed. It's about our children, our grandchildren, your grandchildren, and making Florida a better place for them. Ever since I grew up in this state, our state's depended principally upon 2 industries, travel and tourism and agriculture. And as your governor, I'm going to promote both of those. We need them to be strong. We need them to be healthy. But we need to diversify the economy. And this recession we're in now, I think, with a high unemployment rate, with 1.1 million out of 18 million Floridians out of work, and that's not counting the underemployed. With this high unemployment rate in this recession, we're seeing the weakness of our state. We need to have other industry here. In Broward County, you need industry so that when a young man or woman, a daughter, grandson, whoever, graduates from a college university, they get a good degree in some modern science area, they can go to work in Florida. They don't have to go somewhere else. And we need that for revenue and broadening the base of our economy. So as your next governor, and why I'm really excited about this, that I have a plan that will grow the small businesses, especially in high-tech and biotech and aerospace, and the type of industry we really want for those kind of permanent jobs. And it would not only keep the taxes low, we would have special targets like lowering the corporate income tax rate from 5.5% to 4.5%, exempting certain businesses we want to come here or grow here from paying any corporate income tax for 10 years, let's say, and exempting others from paying a sales tax at all on certain high-tech equipment, things that will induce businesses to want to come here. Then we need to keep regulations in a common sense way. We need to lower them. We're one of the highest regulated states in the country. People don't realize it, but we're over-regulated. Number 3, we have to always have some, by the way. I know that for the environment and public safety, but not all that we've got. Number 3, we need to dramatically improve our public education system, which, is better. 4th grade reading and math tests are good since Jeb Bush's accountability came in, Ed, but we're nowhere near where we need to be.
I don't mean to interrupt, but education aside, just for a second, because we'll go at that in a second, because there's 2 parts to that, both higher education and then K through 12. The economy. As I understand, and I've read the plan, essentially the focus is on creating high-paying jobs for Floridian workers.
Right.
At the end of the day, that is the net result of what your plan brings to the table.
Well, that's what the plan brings to the table, and it's creating high-paying jobs. It's creating permanent jobs. It's either creating them in Florida anew with the kind of capital we want to grow small businesses, especially those that spin out from our universities and researchers here, or bringing them in. We want to lure headquarters here. We want to lure production facilities here.
So we want to go out and compete with other states to make sure that we get our fair share of quality, high-end businesses to relocate to the state of Florida so that we have long-term, high-paying jobs, and so that our weakness today becomes our strength tomorrow.
It's a basis of how we can compete. Today, we're not competitive with states, even Georgia or Alabama. We're just not. We've been sitting on our laurels. We're a wonderful state. We have wonderful weather. We have low taxes generally, and people say, well, everybody wants to come here. Retirees do, but we need to have businesses to come, not just retirees. And I think I have the experience and the knowledge and a good ability of vision about where we should go, that we can put the team together when I'm governor to govern and to make these things happen.
Leadership and experience to tackle the tough problems of today. Well, we appreciate your service and your desire to serve as governor potentially, and I think what you just laid out was a very good reason why you should run for governor.
Thank you, Ed. Appreciate it.